Cruise cabins hold more secrets than almost any passenger ever realizes, and most travelers never think twice about what happens behind that locked door once housekeeping walks away. Every single sailing, thousands of guests unknowingly interact with hidden systems, quiet crew routines, and cleaning shortcuts that shape their entire week without them noticing. A longtime cabin steward once admitted that passengers only see about half of what actually happens inside their room, and the other half explains why some cruisers come home thrilled, while others come home confused or unsettled. Today, I am pulling back the curtain on 13 cruise cabin secrets that crew members rarely talk about, the kind of details that change how you pack, how you sleep, and how you protect your privacy. Stay with me, because number 1 might change how you look at your cabin walls forever. Before we get into it, if cruising is part of your routine or your dream retirement plan, hit follow on Senior Cruise Secrets so you never miss the details cruise lines would rather you scroll past. Now let us get into the list. Number 13. Hidden camera scandals in cabins. Here is something most passengers assume could never happen on a modern ship, yet it has happened more than once, and cruise lines quietly settle these cases before headlines spread. A guest on a Caribbean sailing found a small device tucked into a smoke detector during a routine unpacking check, and the discovery only came from pure luck, not from any official warning. Security teams later confirmed the device had been planted by a previous occupant, not by the crew, but the unsettling part is how long it went unnoticed through several cabin turnovers. Cruise lines rarely publicize these incidents because panic spreads faster than reassurance, and a single viral story can cost millions in cancellations. Here is what you do the moment you step into your cabin. Scan smoke detectors, alarm clocks, power strips, and any unfamiliar decorative object for pinholes or tiny lenses. Move the smoke detector slightly and listen for any odd clicking, and unplug unfamiliar electronics you did not pack yourself. If anything looks altered or out of place, report it to security immediately and ask for a physical room change, not just a cleaning visit. Most scares turn out to be nothing, but a 60-second scan costs you nothing and protects your entire trip. It also helps to photograph the cabin exactly as it looked when you first walked in, since that same footage doubles as proof if anything ever goes missing or gets damaged later in the sailing. Frequent cruisers now treat this scan the same way they treat a hotel room check, a quick habit rather than a paranoid ritual, and it takes far less time than unpacking your first suitcase. Number 12. Cabin stewards know when you're inside or away. Your steward is not guessing when they knock, and this single detail surprises almost every guest who hears it for the first time. Modern cruise cabins use a small indicator system, sometimes a light above the door, sometimes a digital badge scan log that tells the steward whether the room key was last used to enter or exit. A retired steward explained that this system exists mainly for safety, so crew can respond quickly if someone needs help, but it also means your comings and goings are tracked far more closely than most guests realize. This is not something to fear, but it does change how you think about privacy inside a space you assumed was fully your own. Here is what you do. If you want true uninterrupted privacy, use the manual privacy indicator on your door rather than relying on assumptions about scheduling. Ask your steward directly what times they typically service rooms on your deck and request a specific window if you have a preference. Most stewards happily adjust their route once you ask because a 5-second conversation saves them a wasted knock later. Understanding this system also helps if you ever misplace an item, since the access log can help narrow down exactly when the room was last entered. Some stewards will even share a rough sense of your neighbor's schedules if it helps them plan quieter service times around you, though most keep that information private out of professional courtesy. Knowing the system exists simply lets you plan your day with a little more awareness instead of feeling caught off guard by an unexpected knock during a nap or a video call home. Number 11. Dead cabins that are never booked. Every ship has a handful of cabins that experienced cruisers quietly avoid, and travel agents sometimes call them dead cabins because they sit empty sailing after sailing. These rooms usually sit directly above nightclubs, beneath the running track, or beside crew stairwells, and the vibration or noise makes them nearly unlivable even with a great rate attached. A couple once booked one of these cabins purely because of the discounted price, only to discover the entire wall shook every time the elevator passed on its way to the crew deck. Cruise lines rarely disclose which cabins fall into this category because doing so would make them even harder to sell. Here is what you do. Before booking, search the cabin number alongside terms like noise or vibration on cruise forums, since frequent cruisers document these rooms extensively. If you already booked a suspicious cabin, call and ask specifically whether it sits near an elevator shaft, galley, or nightclub. Guest services can often move you before the sailing if you ask early rather than after boarding, when availability shrinks fast. Travel agents who specialize in cruises often keep private lists of these problem cabins for every major ship in a fleet, so asking your agent directly before you book can save you an entire week of frustration. A quiet cabin might cost a little more upfront, but the peace of mind usually outweighs the small difference in price once you factor in a full week of uninterrupted sleep. Number 10. Why your cabin door is never truly soundproof. Cabin doors look solid, but the gap beneath them and the thin material used to keep ships lightweight mean sound travels far more easily than passengers expect. A guest sleeping in an interior cabin near a busy hallway realized every late-night conversation outside her door came through as clearly as if the people were standing inside her room. Cruise lines build cabin doors this way partly for weight reasons and partly for emergency access, since a solid soundproof door would slow evacuation during a drill or real emergency. Here is what you do. Pack a rolled towel or a draft stopper to place against the bottom gap at night, since this single trick cuts a surprising amount of hallway noise. Request a cabin away from elevator lobbies, stairwells, and crew access points whenever possible, since these areas generate the most consistent foot traffic. If noise becomes unbearable, mention it to guest services within the first day, since sold-out sailings make relocation much harder once the week gets underway. Bringing a small white noise machine or a phone app with ambient sound can also mask the residual hallway chatter that even the best towel trick cannot fully block. Guests who address noise concerns calmly and early tend to get better results than those who wait until frustration builds, since crew genuinely want to fix the issue before it becomes a formal complaint. Number 9. Do not disturb doesn't always mean privacy. Most passengers assume flipping the privacy sign guarantees nobody enters, but several cruise lines reserve the right to check on a cabin if a guest has not been seen for an extended period, especially on longer sailings. This policy exists for genuine safety reasons, since crew have discovered medical emergencies this way, but it means the sign is a request, not an absolute barrier. A guest once left the privacy sign up for 2 full days while resting from seasickness, and a wellness check followed once staff noticed no key activity from that cabin. Here is what you do. If you plan to rest and skip activities for more than a day, mention it to your steward or guest services so they know you are simply resting rather than absent. This small step prevents an unexpected knock during your recovery and keeps your privacy respected while still giving crew the peace of mind they need. It also helps to leave a short note near the door or let a travel companion know your plans, since a simple heads up avoids any confusion if a wellness check does happen while you are resting. Crew members genuinely appreciate guests who communicate proactively, and it usually means far fewer interruptions throughout the rest of your stay. Number 8. The dirty truth about cruise cabin pillows. Decorative pillows and bed runners look inviting, but a former steward revealed these items are only deep cleaned on a rotating schedule that can stretch a month or longer between proper washes. With cabin turnovers lasting under 20 minutes, stewards focus their limited time on sheets, towels, and bathroom surfaces, leaving decorative textiles as a low priority. A guest who developed unexplained skin irritation during a week-long cruise later learned the decorative pillow she rested against nightly had likely been touched by dozens of previous guests. Here is what you do. Remove decorative pillows and runners the moment you enter your cabin and store them in the closet for the week. Bring a travel pillowcase from home to layer over the standard cruise pillow for an extra barrier. And request a fresh pillowcase swap midweek if your sailing runs longer than 5 nights. Frequent cruisers also pack a small travel-size fabric spray to freshen decorative textiles before storing them, since even a quick spritz reduces lingering odors from previous voyages. Asking your steward for an extra set of standard pillows instead of decorative ones is another simple swap that most crew members are happy to make without any extra charge. Number 7. The mystery of cabin deep cleans. Cruise lines advertise thorough cabin sanitation, but the daily reality involves surface wiping rather than a true deep clean, which typically only happens between longer maintenance windows or dry dock periods. A steward explained that daily service focuses on visible surfaces, replacing linens, and restocking toiletries, while carpets, vents, and upholstery receive attention on a much longer rotation. A guest with allergies noticed her symptoms worsened throughout the week, and later learned the carpet had not been deep cleaned in months. Here is what you do. If you have allergies or sensitivities, request a hard floor cabin when booking rather than carpet, since carpeted rooms trap allergens far longer between deep cleans. Bring a portable air purifier if your cabin allows it, and ask your steward directly how recently the carpet was shampooed, since honest stewards will tell you if you ask politely. Wiping down high-touch surfaces yourself during the first few minutes in the cabin, including the remote, the phone, and the light switches, closes most of the gap between a quick daily wipe and a true deep clean. This one habit takes less than 5 minutes, but noticeably reduces the odds of catching something during a busy week surrounded by thousands of other passengers. Number 6. Secret emergency access doors between cabins. Many connecting cabins share a locked door for families who book both rooms, but fewer passengers realize some cabins also have emergency access panels designed for crew to reach adjoining spaces during a fire or medical crisis. These panels typically stay hidden behind furniture or wall panels and are never meant for guest use outside an emergency. A curious guest once found a seam behind the closet mirror and worried it meant reduced privacy, when in reality it was standard emergency infrastructure required by maritime safety codes. Here is what you do. If you notice an unusual seam, panel, or hinge that looks out of place, ask guest services to explain it rather than assuming the worst. Understanding these features actually helps during an emergency, since knowing your cabin includes reinforced escape infrastructure adds a layer of reassurance rather than concern once you understand its true purpose. It also explains why maintenance teams can sometimes resolve a plumbing or electrical issue without ever stepping inside your cabin at all, since many repairs happen entirely from the corridor side of that hidden panel. Guests who understand this system tend to worry far less about strange sounds later in the week because they already know exactly what they are hearing. Number 5. Crew can see your cabin activity logs. Every keycard swipe at your cabin door generates a digital log, and this system exists primarily for safety and security investigations rather than everyday monitoring. A dispute over a missing item was resolved quickly once security pulled the access log and confirmed exactly which keycards had entered the cabin and when. Passengers sometimes assume this feels invasive, but crew explained the log only becomes relevant during a formal investigation, not for casual review. Here is what you do. Keep your keycard secure and report a lost card immediately, since an unreported lost card means someone else could technically access your cabin under your logged entry. If you ever suspect an unauthorized entry, request the access log through guest services, since you have every right to ask for that information during a dispute. Traveling companions should also avoid sharing key cards casually with each other, since mixed usage makes the log harder to interpret if a genuine question ever comes up. Treating your key card the same way you would treat a hotel room key at home is the simplest way to keep this entire system working in your favor rather than against you. Number 4. Why lost items in cabins rarely stay lost. Passengers often panic when they leave something behind, but cruise lines actually run a surprisingly organized lost and found system that reunites more items with guests than most people expect. Stewards are trained to log anything found during turnover cleaning, and items get cataloged by cabin number and sailing date before being stored for a set period. A guest who left a charger cable behind assumed it was gone forever, only to receive an email 2 weeks later offering to mail it back for a small shipping fee. Here is what you do if you leave something behind. Contact guest relations as soon as you realize it rather than assuming it is unrecoverable, since most lines hold items for 30 to 90 days. Always label valuable items with your name and cabin number using a small tag, since labeled items get matched to owners far faster than unlabeled ones sitting in a bin. Take a quick photo of anything valuable before you pack it for the trip, since a clear picture makes it much easier for guest relations to identify your item among the dozens that pass through the lost and found each week. Following up politely a second time if you do not hear back within the holding period also helps, since items occasionally get reclassified before the system fully updates. Number 3. Hidden speaker systems inside guest cabins. Every cabin includes a built-in speaker connected to the ship's emergency announcement system, and this speaker activates automatically during drills, alerts, and general announcements regardless of your television or radio settings. Some guests are startled the first time an announcement cuts through at full volume, especially if they were unaware the speaker existed separately from the television. A guest once unplugged her television, thinking it would silence morning announcements, only to realize the announcement speaker operates on a completely separate circuit built into the wall. Here is what you do. Locate the speaker grill near the ceiling or closet area so you understand where announcements originate, and never attempt to disconnect or cover it, since it plays a critical safety role during emergencies. If announcements feel too loud for your comfort during non-emergency hours, ask guest services whether your cabin's volume can be adjusted, since some ships allow limited control on non-critical announcements. Light sleepers often benefit from packing soft earplugs rated for travel, since these still allow emergency alarms to be heard while softening routine morning wake-up calls from the bridge. Knowing exactly where the speaker sits also helps during an actual emergency drill, since you will instinctively know where the instructions are coming from instead of scanning the room in confusion. Number 2. The real reason some cabins flood during storms. Balcony cabins on lower decks occasionally experience minor flooding during rough weather, and the cause usually traces back to drainage channels that struggle to keep pace when waves wash across the deck repeatedly. A guest sailing through unexpected swells noticed water seeping beneath her balcony door, and later learned the drainage channel outside had become partially blocked by debris from a previous storm. Crew explained that while the ship itself remains completely safe during these conditions, individual balcony drains require regular maintenance that can fall behind during a busy sailing season. Here is what you do during rough weather. Place a rolled towel against your balcony door as a precaution and report any water intrusion immediately rather than waiting, since early reports get faster maintenance response. Avoid leaving luggage or electronics directly against the balcony door track during storm warnings, since that area experiences the highest risk of minor seepage. Keeping a small dry towel folded near the balcony door throughout the sailing means you are never caught scrambling if conditions shift suddenly overnight, especially on itineraries that pass through open ocean stretches known for unpredictable swells. Crew genuinely prefer an early heads-up over guests waiting until the carpet is already soaked, since early reports keep the fix simple rather than turning into a bigger repair. Number 1. Hidden maintenance tunnels behind cabin walls. The most surprising secret of all involves the maze of narrow maintenance corridors running behind cabin walls throughout most of the ship, giving crew direct access to plumbing, wiring, and mechanical systems without ever entering your room. These tunnels explain why maintenance can sometimes resolve an issue remarkably fast, since a technician working behind the wall does not need to disturb your privacy at all. A guest once heard faint footsteps and muffled voices through her cabin wall late at night and worried something was wrong, when in reality a crew member was simply performing routine maintenance in the access corridor behind her room. Here is what you do. If you ever hear unexplained sounds through a wall rather than through the door or hallway, there is a reasonable chance it is maintenance activity rather than anything concerning. Mentioning any recurring noise to guest services still helps, since persistent sounds occasionally indicate equipment that needs adjustment, and crew would rather know sooner than later. These tunnels are also the reason a ship can run for decades with cabins that still feel fresh and functional, since technicians can quietly modernize wiring and plumbing behind the scenes without ever disrupting an entire deck of guests at once. Once you know this network exists, the ship itself starts to feel less like a mystery and more like a finely tuned machine working quietly around you the whole time. Knowing all 13 of these secrets puts you ahead of almost every other passenger walking up that gangway. But your cabin is only one part of the story, since what happens at check-in and during your first hour on board shapes the rest of your week just as much. Most guests never think to ask crew these kinds of questions, and that quiet hesitation is exactly why so many of these details stay hidden sailing after sailing, year after year, even though none of them are actually secret once someone finally explains them clearly. If this kind of insider breakdown helps you feel more confident heading into your next sailing, follow senior crew's secrets so the next reveal reaches you before your next trip, and drop a comment letting me know which of these 13 secrets surprised you the most. Save this video for the night before you pack, since a quick refresher right before boarding makes every one of these tips far easier to remember once you are actually standing in your cabin. Safe travels, and I will see you in the next one.